Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how I'm applying the artwork for the tapes that I'm releasing for Tape Club every month. As you can see, I have 4 stamps here. The first one is just a solid color that I'm doing in pink. Second one is a similar shape, but it's going to be the accent color, which is being done in purple. The third one here is, you can see the text. There's a little border and a little shadow right here, and this is being done in gray. And the last one is my blue stamp, which is just kind of like a finishing stamp. It's like a little marker. So putting all this together here, I've come up with this idea here. Me and my partner did. We've put 3 push pins into a cutting board that holds the guide sheet down here. And you'll also notice here that I also have a couple of more push pins in the center that I've stretched a rubber band over. So this rubber band here is meant to kind of hold the tape insert down. As you can see, the insert, as it's been folded, it kind of has a tendency to kind of bend up. So we want it to be as flat as possible so we can make proper connection to the surface with the stamps and get it lined up properly. So that's what the rubber band is for. Now, I've also created a couple of slits in the black paper that I can use to tuck the edges of the insert in to kind of keep it from shifting any direction. And I've found using this box cutter here helps to kind of guide the edges of the insert in so that I don't ruin the insert. So go and put that back away over there. And then the next step here is just to kind of line up the insert with the guidelines that I've written down on the black paper here. And that's it. So now the next step I do here is I grab this, now we just got this from the dollar store. This is just a basic wooden canvas that you can find at any dollar store. They're very cheap. And what I've done was I've gone ahead and cut a hole in the center of the wooden canvas at about 2.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide, which is the face of the front of the tape insert. Now with these push pins here, the 3 push pins, I just got to put pressure to the right here to have it hook over this other push pin, and it actually holds it in place. So just put a little bit of pressure with my finger here as I push down from the top, and it rolls it right into place. And what these push pins do is it actually locks it in place so that I can line up my stamp properly. And there you have it. So I put the stamp in right in the hole, and you'll notice here these push pins, this isn't going anywhere here. These 3 push pins hold it right where I need it to go. I push left and right, it won't shift in another direction. And same with up and down. You have to push a lot of pressure on the bottom or the top to actually get it to go anywhere. So now that that's in place there, the next thing we do is we start doing the stamping. And one of the things that I've learned through this whole stamping process is when you're doing a multi-layered stamp with like colors on top of other colors, it can be really, really hard to kind of line up those colors just by the naked eye. So you kind of have to find a way to guide it. This was a very kind of easy sort of DIY method of getting that proper guidance so that the stamps all line up properly. So the first stamp we're going to do here is the one I've just put in the center here. This one here is going to be done in pink, and this is the basis, the back color of the rock. So I'm just applying a little bit of the pink ink right here. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to let you know, this stamp is actually mounted to a piece of click flooring that I had sitting in the basement that I cut to the proper size, the 4 wide by 2.5 inch tall. You can see here, I'm going to be pushing it a little bit off to the right, and I'll explain why that is in a moment here. But we just kind of get it lined up. Oh, and I wanted to show you, so to actually get it to the center here, I've actually done a lot of measuring and then properly glued it into the center where I want it to show up. So we push it through the hole here. Now the other benefit to using this click flooring is that the thickness of the wood combined with the thickness of the stamp actually has the tail end of the stamp sit up above the surface of the frame. So when I'm done pushing down here, I can actually just grab it with my fingers, pull it up, and I don't even have to remove the frame or nothing. I can just get it out of there. So as you can see, that's stamp number 1 all done. Looks great. I think it looks good. So we'll go ahead and put this back over here. Okay, so I'm going to grab my second stamp here. Now this one is the accent color here. I'm doing this in a darker purple, as you can see right here. And now when I mounted this one to the piece of wood, it was actually just a slight bit off center, a little bit off to the left bit, and a little bit vertically miscentered as well too. So what I did to compensate for that is when I actually go to stamp, I push the stamp over to the left a little bit there to kind of get it to line up, and then I also take the guide and move it down by just a little bit more than a 1/16 of an inch to kind of compensate for the vertical offset as well too. As it comes with these kind of things, you kind of have to just glue and hope for the best. You can do all the measuring in the world, and sometimes it just shifts that tiny bit, and you can notice it in the finished product. So there's always ways for compensating for that. So that's what we're doing here. We just move this down just a little bit more, and that should be good. Okay, next we apply the ink to the surface of the stamp. Just a couple of dabs here, just make sure it's nice and even across the whole stamp. This lino cut was basically the same shape as the first one, but with a bunch of extra negative space to kind of allow for the pink to kind of come through. So I'll take this here, and push it off to the left here, give it pressure that way. Okay, and then we push it down. And give it some pressure, make sure it gives good contact with the surface. Again, it's mostly just trial and error until you get it right. And as you can see, it looks like it lined up pretty good. Yeah. So as you can see a little bit here, I don't know if you zoom in, you might not be able to see this in the video, but there's a little bit of pink coming out of the bottom here. But that's okay though. That's fine because we're going to actually be covering that with our next stamp, which is the border, the text, and the shadow of the rock. So that shadow color should cover up that little bit of extra pink there. And we're going to use the gray color for this, which is a nice solid color. It's going to cover the text, the border, and the bottom text, and then of course this shadow here should blend out that pink quite nicely. And let's go ahead and apply it. So again, you want to make sure you're getting an even cover on everything here. The one thing I ran into with this one here is that the border is very closely lined up next to the edges of the top and bottom text. And in the case of the bottom part of the border, without enough pressure, sometimes that doesn't make a proper contact with the surface, and you'll find that it just doesn't show up. So I have to push extra hard with this one. But again, I figured all that out through testing. You can kind of see here, there's like a little bit of areas where it just doesn't, it's too close, So let's go ahead and stamp it. So we're just putting some extra pressure on this one here to make sure the border gets pushed through the whole way. All four edges of the border are going to show up. And give it a little bit of extra elbow grease here. Okay, that should be pretty good. Maybe just a little bit more pressure just to be sure. Kind of give it some even pressuring and then pull it up with my fingers here, just like the previous two. And there you go. You can see that the entire border showed up there. We got a nice little, oh, that looks great actually. Then we got a nice little shadow showing up under the rock. All of the text showed up nicely. We're good. So far so good. Okay, so the next stamp that we're going to do here, actually I got to take this off here. So I'm going to take the frame off of here and just pop it up like that and up and over. So the next stamp I'm going to do is actually I call this the finishing stamp for this one here, if you will. It's kind of a freehand one that I'm doing. So I'm actually going to take this out of its slits and just let it rest here. And this is our final stamp. Just doing it with the blue. I'm going to freehand this one here. And let's give it a little bit of ink here. Line it up. Bam. Right there, that should be good. Just like that. All right, perfect. Yeah, I actually don't like to put too much pressure on the blue stamp, which is being done with a royal blue here, as you can see. And I like to be a little bit lighter with this one because it gives it a little bit more of a distressed look. So this is the tape cover for Old Man Volume 1. It's a compilation of a bunch of different performances that I did alongside a bunch of MCs from the local hip-hop scene. Guys like Mike Swift and Codex and the late Sunny Vibes, may he rest in peace, Konica, a whole bunch of other people. Yeah. The last step is just to grab an extra Norelco case here, Pop it in the case like so. Nice and easy. Easy does it. Gives it a nice little finished look here. There it is. Old Man, Volume 1. Just want to take this time right now too to give a shout out to all my Patreon subscribers. Thank you very much for supporting me in this whole endeavor. And I hope the members of the Tape Club enjoy this tape. And with that, this is DJ Seith signing off.